Hello, I'm Jashikins, and welcome to part 2 of my Spectre review. And I'm actually on Cockroach Watch. I've been doing that since part 1. like shortly before filming this, there was a nice long cockroach, and then I'm not ashamed. I went to my dad, and it isn't there. But yeah. I can't believe I'm staying as calm as I am. Oh God. Like I feel something on my leg and I'm like, oh my God, is this a cockroach? Oh no, it's just my leg rubbing up against something. Oh God. Anyways, again, spoilers. And again, I did not do any research before filming this. This is more of I come back home from the movie theater and I give my first thoughts on something. Good. There was a large surveillance theme in the movie. That's how there are basically sort of two interlocking plots, two main ones. One is James Bond going off and trying to track down this guy. The other is M trying to, deal with how things are changing, and there's so big surveillance. God damn it, I can't pronounce that word tonight. Surveillance. Fuck it. And I mean, that's like, yes, surveillance so that, we can make sure what's going on, that bad things aren't happening. But as M pointed out, what are you going to do with this information? Just because you have information doesn't mean you're just going to use it for good. So that's the downside of surveillance. Is like, okay, you're trying to keep us safe, but at the same time, what are you, going to do with everything you've done? And as this whole surveillance thing is plotted by Spectre, of course, they're not going to be using it for most noble purposes. And C was actually watching one of the agents when that agent was home at her apartment. Like Moneypenny was at home and C was tracking her. I was like, that's a line you don't really cross without good reason. And C's response to find out that Moneypenny was contacting James Bond was, see, this is why it's good. And then later on in the movie, Christoph Waltz's character was like, yeah, information is the only thing that matters. And that's actually very true, because if you're a good guy, you'd be using that for good. If not, yeah. Yeah, I probably need to watch again just for surveillance. Of course, there are other reasons, so moving on. I thought it was a very heartwarming moment when Swan got to talking to Bond about, his profession, why he did it, and Bond's like, I just don't think about it, I just do it. And she's like, so what would you do if you stopped to think? And the conversation seemed to imply that, what would you do if, you weren't an assassin anymore? And he just had a lost expression, like he doesn't know. Being an assassin, killing people is so integral to him that, I don't know, it's like he doesn't have a sense of self. That his sense of self is purely with his job, and he doesn't know what he'd do without it. For a comparison, I'm a writer. I love to write. I blog, I do writing commissions, I'm even working on my first ebook. And so, writing is a huge, huge part of me. for a little bit I stopped writing, but then I was like right back at it, doing projects merely so that I could get back in the groove. But I know there's a difference between me and being a writer. I mean, I know there's some other things to do besides writing. I know there's a life outside that. And even though, between me and being a writer can seem very small at times, it is there. And that's something James Bond doesn't have. His sense of self is purely being an assassin, purely being 007. That is everything. The beginning and the end. So it was sort of heartbreaking just seeing this guy, like, that you're used to seeing tough, all suave, fucking all the ladies he wants, being just nothing at the end. Yeah, he talks a great talk, but that's because he doesn't stop to think. And because if he stopped to think, he could see, he is only his job. He doesn't know what else he is. But of course, it's a James Bond film, so after we have that heart-wrenching moment, we're thrown into another cool action sequence. Like, yeah, I just like that little bit there. God. And going back to talking about M talking with C, and the whole thing about having information, M gave a very good case of why assassins like James Bond are needed. M basically said that, hey, yes, you can do all the surveillance and do everything else, can find all these facts, but there is something very different about what an assassin, what 00 does. They have to look at the person they kill. They can't sit from afar. They have to be right there. And, that's much more emotional. Even if you dampen it, that's not everyone can, go out and pull the trigger and kill someone. And plus, besides that, there's the fact that there's something that's missing when you're look at all the facts and you're not there, because when you're there, when you're looking at a person in the eyes, you just get a better sense of everything. And M has a great line in the movie basically saying that the license to kill is also a license not to kill, because if you're an agent in the field and you realize at the last moment, hey, this guy shouldn't die, you can make that choice. A machine couldn't, really. And at the end of the movie, when James Bond can kill Christoph Waltz, he doesn't. I believe, for Swan, whom he's come to know and love. And, that's nothing a machine could do. And so, in short, Spectre is a great James Bond film that has great action, sequences, and cheesy one-liners, things that are going to make you laugh and giggle. But at the same time, there are those moments that make you think. But, since, it's not that kind of film, you don't focus too much on them, except the surveillance, which, as I said before, is really central to the movie as a whole. And I would like to hear your thoughts on Spectre. If you've seen it, please tell me what you thought. If you haven't seen it and you, for some reason, have watched this review, tell me, fuck. Oh, sorry, there's the cockroach behind there, you see that? And until next video, goodbye.